survey. And it's really important for individuals to understand the background and where the legislation comes from, because it's an ordinance. And here in Pima County, we are in what we call attainment for air quality. When we are in attainment, it means that this program is much easier to administer. And as a transportation coordinator, we have many lessons that we have to go through. So as an example, in contrast, up in Maricopa County, my colleague Kristen up there, they have 1,200 employers. The threshold is if you have 50 employees or more, you have exactly 30 days to get your survey completed. And if you don't, they have the ability, based on the power vested in them by their board of supervisors for the county, is they can fine you $300 a day for not finishing the survey. And the reason for that is Phoenix is in non-attainment. They're 6 times bigger than Tucson. We all know that their traffic is significantly more than ours. And while we want to grow as a region, we want to take steps to protect our air quality and make sure that we can reduce emissions, we can reduce congestion. And so the travel reduction program was born over 20 years ago, and it's based on the Clean Air Act. So the Clean Air Act of 1970 put a lot of things in place to try and take steps to protect our air quality. So if anybody on this training call has a family, friend, or even themselves that has asthma, you're very sensitive to when there is a change in air quality. The wind that we've been having over the last couple of days, those that have breathing issues are really struggling. Also, during the April through September timeframe, we have an ozone season where, because of the heat and what comes off of the pavement, it affects air quality. And there's a lot of other pieces that go with that. And we have an air quality coordinator here. His name is Dustin Fitzpatrick. He has forgotten more about air quality than I will ever know. He's absolutely brilliant. And if you ever have questions, or if you're in an industry where you need more information, reach out to us and we can share that information with you. Also, for those that are from school districts that are participating in this call, dealing with air quality or addressing it through your science programs is also an option. Because we had a Pima County health assessment a few years ago, and one of the statistics that they published was that 24% of high school kids have asthma. That's shocking. And that means kids aren't going to school if they have an asthma attack. So that is why the program exists. I also have a different document that if you need a summary of the program, especially if you're new, if you haven't gotten that from me yet, I can send that to you, and we call it the TRPY. So the positive outcomes of travel reduction for this program: we have fewer motor vehicles on the road. We've all been subject to the recent pandemic, and we got to see that traffic really was reduced. Parking at Costco was not always great, but it was less as people were trying to get things delivered at home. Air pollution. We note that motor vehicles are a major source of air pollution, and so we take measures to try and get people to share the ride, have van pools, take transit. So as we look at when we work with our, let's see here, I apologize. When we work with companies that have 100 FTEs. So for those of you who have recently addressed your air survey, that's the activity inventory report. That is one of the things, one of the 4 deliverables that we have for each company to complete each year. So it's the threshold for Pima County is 100. I mentioned earlier that Maricopa County, it's 50 employees or more. So the 4 things: we assign a transportation coordinator, we complete the air survey, we distribute and administer the annual employee survey, and you share information with your employees about travel reduction. And sometimes it takes a little bit of explanation as to why would employees want to know this. Let's say, for example, right now, all public transit is free through June 30th, especially if you are on a route that is internal or in the Midtown area, we have a frequent transit network. There might be individuals that have one car in their household, or they're struggling, they need auto repair. We all know that buying a new car right now, because things are so inflated, and plus the used cars that are available, it's limited. So it's an opportunity to use public transit and be able to commute, go to the store. If you're downtown, the streetcar is free. So we highly encourage people to take advantage of that. At this time, we are not certain that we're going to see free transit going forward to the end of the year. That is subject to funding available and what the city of Tucson will decide to do. So there are 4 things you have to do. When you do your part, when we have people who are carpooling, so for example, if you're at a facility where you are stressed in terms of the number of parking spaces, you can relieve that stress if you encourage your staff to carpool. And one of the basic HR principles, when you're looking at people who have a connection with a coworker, they're more likely to stay put. They're not likely to leave an employer because they have friends, they have connections. And when people are carpooling, those individuals are often the target, or they are primed to participate in a van pool. A van pool is where an individual accepts a lease through our contractor, Commute with Enterprise. And then because it's a van pool vehicle, PAG is the pass-through agency where we are able to provide a subsidy. So for quick math, if the lease each month is $1,000 and you have 7 people riding on a van pool, we are able to subsidize at the rate of $300 if it's $3,000 or 3,000 miles or less for that van pool. So those individuals riding on that vehicle would only pay $100 a month to have a new vehicle with air conditioning. They don't have to buy tires or oil changes, and they just split gas. So especially for individuals who have limited resources or long commutes, it's a great choice. We can offer to have a meeting with any TC or any group of individuals. We have a representative from Commute with Enterprise that can help with that. So the other thing is, if individuals have the opportunity to walk or ride their bike, we have a very impressive loop around our city that is a low stress route for bicycles. And in many cases, someone might be able to ride the loop a certain amount of miles, and then they can put their bike on the bus to get to the last bit to get to their work site. So then we ask the question of, what is Sun Rideshare? Because we have the program of travel reduction, and then we have Sun Rideshare. Sunrideshare.org is the website where individuals can register to be a commuter. They can log their trips. They can also look for others that might want to carpool together. In this day and age, to be fully transparent, carpooling can happen very naturally. If we have any mothers or dads on the call that work with other parents to help get the kids to school, and sometimes you take your turn during the week, back to our school districts that are participating on this call, when you're able to coordinate the parents to get kids that are coming out of the same neighborhood, it cuts down on that long line of cars that are dropping off kids in the morning. So when people are sharing the ride, they're also sharing the expense, and they're reducing the traffic flow that are at particular work sites. So with Sun Rideshare, it's about commuters. It's about people who are going all to the same location and trying to reduce the congestion and how that happens for those individuals. So with biking, we're a very bike-friendly community. We also have bike maps that we distribute to different locations. We do a bike count every year in October. We have an individual here at PAG that helps with that process so that we get to see what type of volume happens at different intersections. And then we write a plan that helps make the choice of riding a bike a safer option here in our region. And then you see the picture down there of the streetcar. So, and then telework. We've all been able to adopt for telework through the pandemic. Telework is the perfect option for TRP because it keeps people at home, keeps them out of their vehicles. they have reduction of vehicle miles traveled. So we do outreach with employers like yourselves, and we try and share information. And then after we're through all of our slides, I can show you some of the website-based resources that you have access to. So when we save on costs and potentially earn employer perks, we have some very large employers that also kick in and will subsidize or purchase bus passes. And the reduced stress, if you don't have to drive yourself and you can text or read a book, or possibly you have a friend that you can chit chat with. A lot of people have bus friends if they ride transit. And then you gain time. So that time that you're using to commute. And when we talk about a healthier environment, I mentioned that asthma can be a big factor for those that are compromised. We're coming out of a pandemic where we have a potential for others that may be stressed in terms of their breathing. So it helps in many ways. So right now, as I had mentioned before, we're in attainment. So being in attainment means we're not Phoenix. So we want to keep our TRP program the way it is. And we're looking for different ways and to share information with employees so that they can have all these benefits. And then also we're contributing to a better community. So van pools. Why would somebody join a van pool? A van pool is set up so that people with long distance commutes or with maybe only one vehicle they have to share in a household, it allows them to have safe, secure, supported transportation and a reduction of the cost of commuting, especially right now when we have gas at $4.50 a gallon. So the lease is with a particular individual. It has to be 7 people or greater. You can have a 7-passenger vehicle or up to a 15-passenger van. The individual who is the coordinator or the driver, they can choose to go around and pick everybody up, or they can meet at one location. And then the payment process is managed through Commute with Enterprise. So as a rider on that vehicle, you would make your payment each month. With anybody who is a federal employee, they already get a subsidy as part of their benefits package, and they can use that to pay for their van pool portion. So the subsidies, we have a van pool webpage through our PAG site, and it currently shows what the potential costs based on mileage would be and how many passengers. We will be in contracting mode in the late fall, so those prices will be adjusted like everything else that we've got going on right now. And with vehicles, they actually have a priority, so there's a little bit of lag time in terms of being able to get vehicles, but we are able to. So we move on. The other option is flexible work schedules. Since I can't see a lot of the faces, there are some of you out there. I know Raytheon is one of them. We have some of our technical industry folks. In terms of flexible work schedules, where you're doing 980s in a 2-week period, where you have every other Friday off, or potentially individuals will work 410s, that is what a flexible work schedule is considered. And it's a way to give that one day where people are not having to drive. For those of us who are coming into the office now, I definitely see a difference there. You know, that Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday traffic on the freeway is definitely different than the Monday, Fridays. So when people are choosing the hybrid option, it seems that that middle of the week seems to be pretty popular. When we save, you can save $5,000 a year. Also on our PAG webpage, we have a cost calculator. So you can plug in what type of vehicle you have, how many miles you go, and see what it costs for you to run your vehicle. When we look at if people can just carpool one day a week, that's a way also. That what if you were able to save what it costs you each day over 52 weeks, that might pay for that next vacation that you have planned. And then the extra time that you can do with whatever you choose, that if you didn't have to commute. Because in some cases, people have an hour commute each way every day. What if you had 10 extra hours in a week? What would you do with it? Would you go to the gym? Would you take your dog for a walk? all those options. And then the losing weight. Biking and walking. Up in Phoenix, there's what we call the rail diet. They have their rail system is pretty extensive, and they've done some research where they say that those that are using that rail system in Phoenix, because they have to walk to the rail system and then they have to walk to the front door of wherever their work site is, that on average that those individuals participating in that are losing 12 pounds a year because they have to put their mileage in. And we have a lot of our health plans nowadays are even paying for us to have a Fitbit or to count our steps. In some cases, that is a benefit for your healthcare plan as well. And then we're underscoring the fact that cleaner air is always a good contributor to a healthy community. So what about you guys, right? What's in it for me? Where can I benefit if I'm one of the employers? So travel time is cut down. Places less strain on parking lots. We talked about it in some cases when we have employers where there's just not enough parking, or you're constantly having conversations with your employees to park at the spaces that are furthest from the door, not closest to the door, so that your clients can be have the choice of the better parking spots. And then with employers, if you offer a benefit, it's a recruiting tool as well. So with the strain we have on workforce right now, there's not a paragraph being written anywhere where it's not about workforce development, or many organizations have many positions that are open, and they're trying to lure these new candidates to join their organization. How do you do that? Well, maybe if you have a subsidy for van pools, or you help with bus passes, those are different ways that you're able to sweeten the deal for your potential new employees. We've mentioned a little bit about how it helps our community. We have better air quality. Oops, sorry about that. When we talk about roadway infrastructure, here at PAG, we do a lot of modeling, which means we use a lot of data that allows our elected officials to make decisions on which transportation projects are happening across the region. No matter what side of town you live on in Tucson or within Pima County, the kind of the running joke is that the orange cone is our state flower, because there's a construction project almost on every road, or if you've had to deal with some of the overpass construction like Ina or Prince. But we want to continue to do that, because that allows people to move around our streets easier. It's not as bumpy. We're getting ready to tear up Oracle Road. That's going to be a big mess, but after it's done, it's really going to be worth it. But when we're not on the road as much, it doesn't get used as much. So that is where TRP also has a role in helping us be a better community. So the requirement of the annual survey. I can't really see hands. And for those of you who are not scheduled to survey until later in the year, this is a web page that you can go to. I can help you navigate, and we could walk through a test case, but this is what it looks like. So it's drive less, save more, and you get a passcode because that's your company code. And you can look at all the 10 questions that we ask. And there are only 10 questions, and each of those questions has been carefully looked at. Our modelers need that information in order to build the model out that we run on a pretty regular basis. So the TRP employers have a month that they will be scheduled to do their survey. And when we looked at the four requirements have two surveys. The air survey that is currently being conducted right now is completed by the TC, the travel coordinator. The annual employee survey is the one where you send it out to all your employees. We try and have you do it the same month. We have had several employers this year that have changed their month because of operational concerns. We can always change it in advance. We have to have you complete your annual employee survey within the January to December timeframe. because we keep all that data based on a calendar year, not a fiscal year. For some of you that work in either the state institutions or school districts, I believe your fiscal years go from July to June. We want you to promote the survey, and if you are able, you can provide employer incentives. We recently wrapped up Amazon. Amazon has over 3,600 employees, and they put it out there that their managers who got 100% of their units to participate in their annual employee survey were up for a drawing for a Yeti cooler. And it was like watching a basketball game in the last couple days. They were like moving their numbers like amazing because they really wanted that Yeti cooler. Those little buggers are kind of expensive. And it's perfect time of year. You might need it in the summer. So, and the other piece of the annual employee survey is we hope for a 50% participation rate or greater. Part of the reason of that is when we collect data, it needs to be statistically significant. If I only get 25% of your workforce to respond to a survey, it really is not indicative of what the entire group is doing. And as you look at employers who can reach that 60, 70, 80% participation rate, what we have also seen is that can be a reflection of morale or leadership in a particular organization. When things are bumpy and things aren't working real well, we see that a lot of our sites can struggle. So getting your leadership on board and helping them understand what this is so they can help you as the TC push the idea of getting people to participate. Your leadership sets the tone for what is important and what should be the priority for your employees. So it's really important that you're able to include them. I am always available if they want to have a Zoom call, an in-person meeting to understand more about this. I'm happy to do that. Because if they understand the why and why we do this, it will help you immensely. And then we talked about the data that we do collect through that. We are able to calculate admissions reductions. So as part of this program, Arizona Department of Environmental Quality is our funder. Each month I do reports to ADEQ, and through the data that we collect, I calculate how many employers, what's the average response rate, how many miles traveled were saved, and how many pounds of pollution was offset. So all those questions that you answer as part of that annual employee survey, that gets to those numbers. So it's a very metrics driven type of program as well. And then we also look at how many people are using the telework option, because we've really seen quite the shift, and the hybrid arena also. We have a lot of employers that have gone 100%, they're all work from home. Certainly the call centers that we have in Tucson, not all of them have made that shift. Some of them have made a hybrid shift. We have some that have said, nope, we have a small office of 1,000 square feet to hire people, and the rest of it is everybody's at home. So they're looking at the footprint they have for their office space. As that happens, we have people that are more in the Midtown area, but we also have some large distribution centers that are on that outside area, like back in the southeast part of town. We're working with them to potentially have van pools because it's a little bit of a haul to get out to those work sites. And then we also look at travel time data. These are the kinds of things, the calculations that, you know, the general public is not even aware that these kind of things happen, but it all goes into the planning. So when we think of why does it take so long to plan for a transportation project? Well, if you're adding lanes, which means you're adding vehicles in those lanes, we have to calculate what does that look like in terms of emissions for the region. So all of those steps take time. So then we move on to the activity inventory report. This is what the TCs complete. This is done once a year. It's right around April or May. We look for travel habits. It shares information with us about the reduction efforts at your location. It also tells us if you subsidize bus passes or if you're near a bus station or a bus route. And then it looks at what you might be prime for. How can we help you? What are the things that potentially would be something that would work with your facility. And then we put as one of our deliverables is that you're sharing information with your employees. So we have posters and articles and a newsletter. We also have a TRP map. And there's the opportunity to do this at your staff or department meetings. Now, we understand that many people right now are doing their meetings by Zoom. So since many of these things are posted on our website, you could share your screen and help people understand what's available to them. And then with travel reduction incentives, we as an agency do not provide incentives, but employers, based on what they're trying to achieve, they have the option to, they can have swag items, you can do pizza parties. There's been ice cream socials where people get together and see if they can form band pools, carpools. It gets all those employees together. Certainly there's been some limitations recently because you gotta have a 6-foot distance between everybody. But as we come out of this pandemic, those are things that you might want to consider. So those sign-up events, how you want to bring people together and let them understand what's available. There is an annual bike to work day. That is typically when the weather is cooler. We have not organized one yet. There was Cyclovia a couple weeks ago that went through the South Tucson, but it's getting people to try a mode and see how it works for them. And then we have our employee recognition program where we post everything and who's doing well in terms of response rates for the actual employee survey. So we talked about the 50% response rate. That makes you eligible for the bronze, silver, or gold levels. And then the ordinance goal, based on the number of years your organization has been in the system, that is how that is set. So if you're a brand new employer that just joined us, it's at 15%, and then it incrementally rises until those that have been with us for quite a few years, the max is 40%. The other option is you have 2 percentage point increase of alt modes. So as we saw people working from home, if they had 25% of their employees that were using alt modes and then they shifted to a telework situation, that gave them, in many cases, a 40% or 50% increase in alt modes because they had so many people that were using telework, or what we call work from home now. As we were navigating the pandemic, many people, we ended up changing it on the survey to work from home because a lot of individuals had no idea what telework was. It was confusing. I guess it was an old school word that people hadn't heard before. And then the one thing I want to make you aware of as well is if you're working for an organization that is taking measures to try and be sustainable, whether it's through electrical savings with energy, or you have solar, or you're somehow your sustainability officer or your compliance officer is gathering information about what you do with cardboard, if you're a distribution center, any of those things that are relevant to what I would describe as green reporting, TRP results count because it shows what offsets you are making with vehicle miles traveled and pounds of pollution that is avoided. So when you look at your final report for your survey, or if you'd like to see the one that you had from last year, I have those available. Just email me and ask for it, but it'll show you what those metrics look like. So as we move into a new world where we're looking at electric vehicles and we want to offset some of the footprint that these large organizations are making, this can have a nice positive contribution to that reporting that you're doing as an organization. And then when we say, as a TC, how can you help? What's helpful for us as we work together? It's keeping us aware of who is the person who's the contact. So we have many of you who are fairly new. And when the emails came out about the air survey, or when we were doing updates, immediately the previous TC would send an email saying, nope, talk to this person now. So if you know that you're about to change positions, or you have secured a different position and then leaving the organization, you can email us in advance of that so that we can make those changes, because that is one thing that we do a lot, is we're updating who the contact is. or if you have a new CEO or executive director that comes in, just email us the information and we can keep your profile current. Because that is the most important thing if we're trying to share information. Because when I get emails of somebody left or the email is not valid anymore, whatever the case may be, it makes it more difficult. Any of those changes in your organization, whether you've added electric vehicle plugins or you've added bike racks or whatever the case may be, let us know about that. And then we can't emphasize enough that you need to share travel information with your employees. For those of you who are in human resources, if you have those particular associates that are really struggling to get to work and they're coming to you to say, how do you help me solve my problem? Commute options can often help them figure out how to get to the work site or what's available to them. So when we look at that, it's the whole idea is how do we get people to get to their work site, stay employed so they can generate funds so that they can have their happy household and lessen the stress and remove the barriers so that they can have their friendly and reliable commute. So, all right, we talked about resources. So the visit sunrideshare.org, that's a website that you can bookmark. And then we have a task force meeting twice a year, once in November and once in June. I have 2 seats open on the task force for those that want to participate. It really is about information sharing, and we review results. You would have access we don't send out big fat reports anymore. Everything's available online. And it's also a way to stay engaged as to what's happening in transportation, because that's what PAG does. We're transportation planners. And then pagregion.com, which I'm going to show you in a quick second when we're done. There's things that you can download. You can put those in your newsletters. There's posters. And if there was something specific that you needed because you have a graphics person or a graphic designer or a communications office, many times those individuals will want it in a particular format because they have a particular program. Anything that we have available online, we can send to you in the format they need. We have a graphic designer. She uses Illustrator. She can format it, change it to a PDF, whatever the case may be. Just need to ask because we're a resource to you. We want to make it easier. So, and then also the RTA mobility site is available. There's RTA projects that are out there. That is a 0.5-cent sales tax. It's an initiative that started in 2006. You'll see the signs around the region where it says it's an RTA project. If you live in the Northwest and you survived the Ina overpass construction, I see Sharon laughing because she was up there, or when they built Twin Peaks, those are RTA projects. Or if you're over where Valencia and Kolb, that was forever, or Valencia in front of the casino, west of I-10. Those are all RTA projects. So that 0.5-cent sales tax helps generate additional funds that allow us to do these mega projects across the region. And we don't know when, but RTA is going to be up for a ballot in a year or 2. That's going to be decided by our regional council soon. And that's it. We got through it in 40 minutes because nobody's asking any questions. We have more people on YouTube. So for those of you who have the ability to speak, anybody have any questions? As a public agency, I apologize, we don't have chat, but you can always email me any question that you might have. I'm going to go to the PAG website and share with you resources that are available.
There is a hand raised.
All right. See everybody's name out there.
I have a question.
Yes.
Back in the day, I used to work at the Holiday Inn on Palo Verde, and you guys used to have your end of the year hoopla out there. Do you not give the gold medal, bronze the companies, do you not give them any more swag like you did back then?
Currently, the expenses that used to be, I guess, like 15 years ago, they'd have a big luncheon. And I mean, so you are a veteran. You have been around for a while with the TRP. Yeah, it used to be a huge number of people that were administering the program. Happy to say we put a lot of that online and was able to make things more efficient. But yes, we do not have, I have some pens that say Sun Rideshare on them, but we do not allocate big dollars in swag anymore. So things.
Okay, thank you.
The intent behind that is, and you as taxpayers who are working and paying taxes, the intent is that we don't want to spend public money on individual incentives. So the idea is if an employer who is working with their own staff, they know or they can translate those incentives based on the organizational culture. So they can bring people together and engage in that way. So we leave it up to the employers to do that. So as an example, TEP is right across the street from me. I'm downtown, and they offer improved and better like front door parking for those who carpool or vanpool. They offer electric charging stations for those that are driving electric vehicles that are closer to the front door, especially in downtown where parking, you have to pay for parking. But there's those types of things that will assist or encourage individuals to do that. I know like Oro Valley Hospital, their parking lot on the front side of their facility is a constant battle to get the employees not to park there because they want their patients to have the closer parking. They got to push them to the back lot. So they have conversations about how to incentivize them not to do that. So it's different based on every facility. When you look at a 24-hour facility like Amazon, how do you organize something that's going to be beneficial and attractive to 3,600 different people? So does that answer your question?
Thank you.
You're welcome. Lori, I see your face, so I'm going to pick on you. Lori Newman is at ASARCO, so she's at a mine. What a mine would do to engage their employers might be quite different. I don't know if you're muted, but if you comment on that, I welcome any input.
There, can you hear me now?
I can.
Can you hear me now? Okay. Yeah, we are at a mine site. So and we have several here in the state of Arizona. And so some of our sites have been able to participate to a much greater extent than others. For instance, I've worked at the Ray mine and actually rode the charter buses they had and the van pools, and Hayden had participated also in the van pool options, and they were wonderful. Now at the Mission Complex, we don't have anything like that at the time, nor at our Silver Bell mine. The air question that you had talked about earlier, we definitely put a lot of effort into that, into the various environmental studies, because mining produces a lot of dust. Yeah, so we put goo on the hills and everything else, try to keep the dust down in water. And this is my very first foray into this. I'm a new regular employee here at the Mission Complex, and not new to ASARCO, but new to Mission. And so this has been interesting to actually get a good background on this. I'm not sure at this point what we can do here at Mission. I do know that we have the annual survey that is coming up, I think in June, I believe. And so I'll probably have something more definitive and interesting to say somewhere down the line once I get a chance to become more familiar.
Well, we're here like with the van pools. If you're in a position where you can have that conversation with your employees, or just say who would be interested, we can come out there and meet with them, or we can do Zoom with a group that might be interested. And we do a bid. There's no commitment to do a bid and figure it out. And then if they go, yeah, that would really work for us, then we're able to do that. I mean, it's a free to explore kind of option.
Well, I have to say that I do know that the landscape has evolved, especially with the high gas costs, the transportation costs, and
Who knows?
that's thing, and really, and the hiring, and really the hiring and the staffing issues too. So we'll have to see how things go for sure.
Well, in your leadership, and this goes for everybody, if we offer a subsidy and you're an employer and van pools is something that you can embrace and it would work for you, the employer can offer a subsidy that it would be paid to the actual commute with enterprise. We pay a subsidy. The balance is what the employees end up with their own burden. So as you look at recruiting and you say, and we also offer this to lessen the load of being able to get to a work site. Mines are perfect because it's always outside of town and there's always a long commute, and you have crews that generally work a shift. So the one piece I did not touch on, and I'll mention now, all of our van pools, every mile they travel, every dollar they spend, I do what I'm describing as the most fun you can have with federal accounting in October. I do a report that's called the NTD report. It is like nothing I can describe. And I took graduate level accounting. Anyway, we do this every October, but we pull all that data together, and I call it, it goes into the federal washing machine, and it spits out as dollars that come back to our region in the form of grant funds that support transit. That is the very simplified way of describing what the NTD report is. But van pools really help the region. They're the most efficient way to commute in terms of generation of dollars. The way I can describe this is if you've ever been to Los Angeles and you see that there's 12 colors of buses and they have electric trains and there's a train that goes down the middle of the freeway, all those different modes of travel generate vehicle miles traveled that then goes into a report from that region back to the FTA to come back as subsidy dollars for transit. Because public transit is heavily subsidized. Everything is. Unless it is a private provider that owns those vehicles and charges a fare, all public transit is subsidized through the FTA. That's a whole nother webinar later if you are interested. But the idea is that it really is a contribution back to the community because it has offsets, it's data that gets collected, all of that. So yes, that is more fun right before Halloween every year that I get to participate in. The first one was brutal. I'm getting better at it, but yeah, it is something else. Any other questions? No. I see Dawn is here from Megget. Glad you're here. Let's see. I've got some other. Nick Trees. He's a veteran from La Frontera. Nice.
Hello, Mary.
Nick is the king of incentives. He gets his employees to put their name in. We do drawings. He always does really well.
Yep, thank you.
Yes, you're one of our superstars. Justin Newman, Fry's Stores. Glad you're with us. Justin is a veteran TC as well. He's about to add many more of his stores. I'm anxiously awaiting for your employee counts so we can do that.
Yes, we're still working on that with Division. I'm going through a process there where they're gathering that information. But I'll send it to you as soon as I have it.
I'm not going to panic until June.
I'm panicking now. I need to get it through. I need to get it taken care of. I've been working on it for about a month now. Well, actually, we talked, for about a month, trying to get that information taken care of. So,
yeah, we got time. We're planning, so we got lots of buffer time. A little plug for Fry's is they need people. They're trying to hire as many people as they can get their hands on. That's probably
thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
I joke with Justin that when I retire, I'm going to work in the produce department at Fry's near my house. Let's see, who else do we got out there? Erica Castro is from Chamberlain. I think I saw a posting somewhere on social media or something. You guys are looking for people too. Do you have anything to say? I saw you on mute.
Oh, can you hear me?
I can.
Oh, hi. Yes, we are hiring
So you're hiring mechanics, or what are you looking for?
for technical support representatives.
Okay. Let's see. Who else do we have out there? We got Maureen Flores is our town of Marana. You are my jurisdiction. I live out in Marana. You guys have a lot of postings on your website too, I believe. And Maureen, I'm going to comment, we're looking to extend our transit service out to Pinnell Air Park. I was talking to Kurt Woody just the other day, so we're trying to figure that out. But that means that as a town, if you ever get inquiries of what's the deal with public transit out here, you're growing, then Pinnell also has a lot of employees. So we're looking to try and solve for that. And Patty, thanks for joining us. I'm trying to connect names and locations. Patty, I can't say your last name. It's Rubakava. Did I say that correctly? I saw you on mute. No? We might have an audio issue. Patty is with Cade. They have a massive building. It's on the way to the airport. They work in mining as well. And Jackie Robinson with Omni Hotels. Glad you're with us as well. So I'm not calling on all of you. I'm just saying that we have some people who have been around for a while and then some new ones. So I'm just calling out names. Okay, so now I'm going to show you our websites. So we have the PAG website, and I'm going to show you how to navigate to get to the pieces that will help you. So under these two pull-down menus, we have mobility and sustainability. Hopefully people can see this. We have the travel reduction program under the sustainability page. So with that, it shows you, let's see. You can scroll down, get information. And then right there, it says TRP Employer Resources. And what that is through our communications department, we have created downloadable flyers, posters. So you can put those in newsletters. You can post them in your if you have employee lunchrooms or areas where people gather. And it helps folks to understand, why do we do this and what's the big deal? Also, when we talked about health benefits and, you know, how if you walk or move more, it can really help if people are trying to make an impact on their own health. Travel reduction benefits. Also, when you're making that case to leadership that you need their support when you're administering the survey, those kinds of things can help as well. Then we go back to, we talked about recognition. We post our TRP monthly award winners on our website, and it says what our totals are. You've heard me say vehicle miles traveled, so we calculate total vehicle miles saved. We do this on a calendar year. For those of you in school districts, you can point your science or your math people to this page if they want to calculate, you know, play with some calculations that are relevant to air quality. And then you have gold, silver, and bronze winners that all get posted. So just recently we had AFNI Riverside Crossing. They almost made 100%. And we talked about alt mode usage and things like that. We have, if we go through the mobility page, you have commuter services and mode choices. And what that does is it gives you an opportunity to look at more information about carpooling, vanpooling, alternative modes. In the center of the page, I want to point out the cost of your commute. That's a calculator provided by AAA. You can plug in your different metrics. So let's say if you do 26 miles round trip, we're all loving the fact that we're paying $4.55 for fuel. And if you have the known miles per gallon for your vehicle, what are you paying per day for your parking? Some of you, it's free. That is the beauty of Tucson. We have big, giant parking lots. And what type of car do you have? So I have an SUV. And then we calculate costs. It will tell you my daily costs are $25. My monthly is $530. This does not take into account if you have a car payment and what my yearly cost would be. It does take into account maintenance and things like that. So what it would cost for you to actually take care of your vehicle based on what it is. So that's something also that we don't see. We're just seeing what it is for fuel, but having a vehicle and having to park it has other costs associated with it. And then the alt modes. We talked about van pools and the grid. There's van pool right here. So for any of our employers that van pools would be a potential, you can look at the leasing. You have 24-hour roadside assistance, and then what the potential cost would be based on number of passengers. And then the contacts is Rick McNeil. I can put together meetings also with groups and Rick and myself if we want to have that conversation. Okay. All right, so van pools, transit, telework. When we look at telework, by now everybody generally has a policy on what to do and how to do it and what that may mean to your own organization. Having something that is actually in writing helps very much. Even now we're navigating on hybrid models. Like what do you do? Is it two days in the office, 3 days in the office, the rest at home? And trying to figure out how does that work for your own location. Telework resources, I want to point out at the bottom, State of Arizona, in my opinion, not to be quoted, but we posted out here as a really solid, it's a document that if you do not have something like this in place at your own work site, theirs is very well done and very complete. It even addresses workers' comp, etc. So I'm going to stop sharing. And I'm going to take any other questions because we are right at 10 o'clock. Anybody? Seeing anyone? No hands up? All right. Well, I really want to, I thank you so much for spending an hour with me so you can know more about the TRP program. This is a program that I cannot tell you how impressed I am because the legislation and the ordinance, the way it's written, it really has been timeless because it is something that independent of the different administrations that are in office, whether it's red or blue, it was written in such a way to truly protect the air quality in our region such that it can't just be erased. These are things that are intended to be for every member of our community. I really ask that all of you share information with your staff, whether it is through newsletters or emails or posting. You'll never know what might be important to someone else. And even though somebody might drive to work and they might live close to downtown, wouldn't it be nice to know that the streetcar is free? Like last weekend when it was second Saturday night, that you would be like, oh, I can ride the streetcar. I could park on the west side of the freeway and get all the way over to Hotel Congress. Or when we have express bus routes that come from Oro Valley, Sahuarita, that if somebody all of a sudden has one car in their household and they're trying to figure out how to get to work, those are some of the options we can help them navigate. So it's helping others solve problems, connect the dots so that it makes their life a little bit easier. human resource folks, for those of you who are in that field, it can be quite a chore because you have certain individual employees that may take more of your time as you're trying to help them be a good, contributing, solid, dependable employee. So we're here to help in that regard as well. So it's 10:01. I'm going to call it a wrap if nobody has any other questions. And happy Easter if you celebrate that way, or happy candy sale at Fry's if after the day the chocolate bunnies will be on sale. So everybody take care. Thanks so much. Remember, public transit's free until June 30th. Thanks for your support of the program and do well on your surveys.
Thank you, Mary.
Much,